right now. All right, welcome to ACIM Talks with Reverend Jim. We have our usual illustrious group assembled here tonight. They're all in good spirits and raring to go with spiritual wisdom and spiritual willingness. So why don't we go ahead and start plunging into our agenda? Sherilyn, did you get the agenda this week? I made that correction, or do you know? Did you get to check your emails?
Well, I checked my email just before I got on,
Yeah.
but I couldn't make it move up past the original picture now to get the actual assignment. So I don't know what I need to do there, but anyway.
All right. Well, we're still working on it, but boy, you got that join the meeting thing down pat, it looks like. So we'll lead the way. You don't need the agenda per se. Again, for our recording tonight, anything anyone would like to share here tonight? Okay. Well, for me, I just wanted to say the June edition of my All Is Well newsletter went out today. So as usual, I hope you'll take a look. And quite frankly, I'm looking for comments and suggestions about what you think of it, and anything you want to say to encourage me or either tell me to stop wasting your time. I'd be happy to hear it, but hopefully you got it today, and give me some of your feedback about All Is Well. So that's, I guess, my only comment tonight. So I'm raring to go as usual. Tonight, first on the agenda is our book study of Unity and A Course in Miracles. And I had marked that we were to start on page, I think on the agenda I put page 17, but it's really page 16 where we left off. And it was where we are tonight is different language, unified message. But to kind of give us some perspective, we're in chapter 2, and the name of that chapter is One Presence, One Power, What Is and What Is Not. And so far, there were a couple of subheadings. They talked about non-duality and put down what A Course in Miracles and Unity had to say about non-duality. And then the second item was on duality. And again, they put down what the Course and Unity had to say about duality. And now I guess they're ready to kind of sum things up here with where we left off on page 16. And the heading is Different Language, Unified Message. Does that make sense? Sound like where we left off?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get our readers going here, okay? Sherilyn is reader 1, and Joan is 2, and Ron is 3, and Dee is 4, and Kathleen is 5, and I'll be reader 6, bringing up the rear. So without further ado, why don't we get started, folks?
Okay, you want to start with different language, unified message? Or
yeah, and just keep
Okay,
reading till we find a
all
nice
right,
place to stop. How's that?
okay, sure. The two belief systems use different words to describe the distinction between non-duality and duality, what is real and unreal. A Course in Miracles, knowledge and perception. In A Course in Miracles, knowledge is God, and it is what is real. It is changeless, limitless, and timeless. Knowledge is truth under one law, the law of love or God. Truth is unalterable, eternal, and unambiguous. It can be unrecognized, but it cannot be changed. It applies to everything that God created, and only what He created is real.
So can we stop for a minute? How's this going? Anything standing out so far? I mean, the passages sound familiar to me from the course, but knowledge is God and it is what is real. We
Yes.
all good with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Read some more then, Sherilyn.
All right.
Yes, I don't have anything.
Early in the text of A Course in Miracles, one entire section introduces the distinction between perception and knowledge. Knowledge is described relative to perception. For the knowledge of God is all that is real and eternal, and anything that is not of God occurs through perception. Thus, knowledge is timeless because certainty is not questionable. Knowledge is power because it is certain, and certainty is strength. Perception is temporary.
Hmm.
The unreal is the world of perception in A Course in Miracles. The world of perception, on the other hand, is a world of time, of change, of beginnings and endings. It is based on interpretation, not on facts. It is the world of birth and death, founded on the belief in scarcity, loss, separation, and death. It is learned rather than given, selective in its perceptual emphasis, unstable in its functioning, and inaccurate in its interpretations.
Please
The
finish the
world,
page.
okay, the world as you perceive it cannot have been created by the Father, for the world is not as you see it. God created only the eternal, and everything you see is perishable. Therefore, there must be another world that you do not see. You see a world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? The ego-based belief system arises from perception.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Comments, my friends, anything? I guess what hits me and maybe what's hard for a lot of folks to understand and be able to reconcile is that this state of knowledge seems to be unchanging. And that kind of sounds stagnant, doesn't it?
I don't think so. I think there are certain things that need to be unchanging and timeless. It gives us our base for judging the other things.
Yeah, but I think you're hitting on the point I'm making is that it gives us a base, but
Yeah.
seems to imply it's a dead base. It doesn't do anything. It's stagnant.
Well,
Y'all
it
see what
says
I mean?
it's changeless, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't expand And it doesn't
Yeah.
express.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the point I wanted to make is it's not changing in terms of what it is.
Right.
It's alive, it's expanding, it's extending, it's brilliant, it's dynamic, but all it can do is be a replication of itself, different iterations of itself. So that's what it means by not changing, because at the end here, you remember we read a passage and it said, in that last full paragraph,
Mhm.
you see a world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. What's its cause? What's the world's cause?
Our wrong perception.
Yeah.
And more specifically, what is the thing that brought perception? What is the cause of perception? That's where I'm going.
The
Separation.
denial of truth.
Separation, the tiny mad idea of separation, is the genesis of perception. That's where perception comes from. And the way that you get to knowledge is to change the cause. How am I doing? Not so well. What do you think?
Good.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't want to make sure we don't leave anyone with the impression that when we say changeless, eternal, it's not dead.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's fully alive, more fully than the world of perception. It's simply that it is consistent and only replicates itself.
It's the energy that unifies everyone.
And yet, being an energy, it is in motion, if you will.
Right. Right.
All right, so we're in good agreement there. Ron, you're looking a little pensive about it, sir. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm thinking a little bit differently. I'm freezing and unfreezing on the screen.
Oh,
So my concern is if it's my turn to read, I'll read, but if I freeze, raise your hand or let me know and I'll just stop reading and somebody else can take over.
all right. Well, so far you're still alive on Zoom, okay?
Yes.
But
yes.
thank you for making us aware. Any other comments on what we've read so far? All right, let's keep going then with Joni. We're on page 18, right, Joe?
18. Okay.
Mhm.
Right? Isn't it 18?
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are. Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Unity, absolute and relative. The historical unity writings describe the distinction between non-duality and duality as the absolute and the relative. The absolute is real and the relative is unreal. Over time, these have come to be known as the absolute realm and the relative realm. The quotes used in this section will use the traditional absolute and relative nomenclature. Unity's absolute realm is timeless, changeless, and limitless. It is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. The absolute is complete, the all. It is not measured by space or time. God, the absolute, is not a who. God is what? Some unity-based quotes follow. Absolute, divine mind, unlimited principle, the Almighty One, the all-pervading Spirit, the infinite, the eternal, the supreme being, the one ultimate creative mind, the source of all things, that which is unconditioned, unlimited, unrestricted, and free from all limitations, the self-existent God. It is only from the plane of mind that one can know truth in an absolute sense. The absolute truth endures, and what is true today always was and always will be true. Reality, that which is abiding, eternal, and unchangeable, the same yesterday and today, yea, and forever. That's from the Bible, Hebrews.
Did they use yay in Hebrews? I'm sorry, I don't know. I guess I could look it up, but I won't do that now. What are your comments so far? Absolute, the definitions from Unity, right?
Mhm.
Is Ron still here?
Oh, no, he's not. You're right.
All right. Well, maybe he can get back in. But when we were reading this, my mind kept going back to the recent solar eclipse. That's a movement, isn't it? Can you stop it?
The solar eclipse?
Pardon me?
The solar eclipse, is that what you're asking?
Remember we had the solar eclipse, what is
Yeah.
a month or two ago?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just got to watch it on TV, those areas that had a total eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience was pretty awesome on the screen. But the other phenomenon that happened is people noticed how cold it got.
Mm-hmm.
How long has this pattern been going on here?
You mean the occurrence of eclipses?
Yeah. How long has it been happening that we've had these eclipses at precise moments, so precise they were predictable?
I think since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And it's not changed. And yet it's not stagnant. Like there wasn't an eclipse and then it got all frozen from now on. It's that movement we were talking about before that is unchanging movement. I was reminded of just the experience I had watching it on TV and hearing the commentary about what an experience it was. Did any of you get to drive to an area where the eclipse was significant? No?
No.
Yeah, I
Really?
didn't either, but it was like spooky.
Yeah.
And yet, would you say it's gonna happen again?
Sure.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are thousands of year cycles a lot of times, but cycles no less. So it's an unchanging movement that is certain. That's what it reminded me of, this language about absolute.
And
Mhm.
yet it's certain within the realm of relative.
It's maybe an example in the relative of something that is absolute. Kind of the wisdom peeking through about things that are unchangeable.
Mhm.
Anyhow, you know me, I go off on stuff. So that's why we're here on ACIM Talk. I just wanted to talk. Let me let Ron back in and hopefully we'll get to see him. All right. Let's see. Hi, Ron. Welcome back.
I don't think he's there.
Hi, Ron. Are you there? Let me try
I
one
don't
more thing here.
think he's got his microphone off.
I know I'm trying to communicate. Ask to unmute. Oh my, I'm so sorry here, my friends. All right, let's give Ron a minute with the technical issues, okay?
Sure.
So while that's going on, who's our next reader? You remember where we left off?
Well, Ron is next, and if he's not able, then I am.
Available, right? So we're
Mhm.
up to you, D. I hope he gets in. We're at D. Where are we on?
Continuation of this is on the continuation of absolute and relative per unity. The
Yes.
relative and its
Yes.
okay. The relative and its sense-based consciousness always changes and is limited. Ugh,
What
I'm
is
getting a
going on
recording.
here? Hold
I'm
on.
getting a recording on my
You
phone,
want
my
to take
aunt.
time and deal with it?
No, it just let it finish, and then
Sure.
I'll continue.
Yes, ma'am. We'll
It's
wait.
it's a reminder of a doctor appointment.
Okay. Well, everybody can tell this is live, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Our own phones.
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Oh, there we
Yeah.
go.
Welcome
Thank you,
back,
Linda.
Zoom one. I'm glad you made it back. D, do you want to defer to Ron to read?
Sure. Yeah, it's his turn anyhow.
Yeah. Ron, we're at the last paragraph on page 18. If you're available to read.
I'm available at the moment.
Wonderful, sir.
The relative and its sense-based consciousness always changes and is limited. It has its roots in ego-based beliefs developed and perpetuated in our individualized, ego-based perception of our lives and of the world around us. Beliefs actually are perceptions and are a manifestation of our separation, sense-based thinking. These beliefs develop from past experiences, thoughts, and decisions made on our own or derived from beliefs we have accepted from others.
Please.
These beliefs,
Mhm.
continue.
Yes.
These beliefs are temporary and change due to our limited judgments of circumstances that are perceived in a moment. We then turn around and use these same sense-based beliefs, perceptions as a lens to perceive our life and the world around us. It is a seeming unending circle that began with the first belief in separation. Since beliefs are subject to change and or release, they are not certain. As a result of this uncertainty, we doubt, we question, and we change. Guilt and fear are some of the effects of the relative sense-based consciousness we live with.
Thank you. Comments here? Whenever I talk about the tiny mad idea, I don't just say it's the tiny mad idea of separation. I always say it's the tiny mad idea of separate heavens.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a denial factor here that it's hard for us to let go because of our egos striving. What if you could have your own separate heaven? Wouldn't that be great?
No.
I mean,
I think you wrote about that in your book, didn't you?
I guess that's what's coming through, right?
Yes.
And I call it separate heavens instead of just the more objective statement, if you will, of separation, because I'm trying to show you the amount of desire to make this true. Because otherwise, how many here would agree that you believe because you don't know? Belief is a substitute for knowing.
Hmm.
How am I doing? Who taught us that belief?
D, you're muted.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, but we don't think we don't know. Belief is a substitute for knowing, but it's a substitute for knowing when I don't know that I'm not knowing.
isn't that disingenuous? Again, Sadhguru was turned me on. Here's our problem. We're not willing to be honest.
Mhm.
I don't know anything. But my deep-seated striving for being able to pull off this tiny mad idea of having my own separate state, an individualized state, puts us into where we're prone to denial. So much so that we would grab on to something as disingenuous as belief. Belief is a poor substitute for knowing.
But what do we do when we don't? I study psychiatry, and they talk about negative not knowing and positive not knowing. Or
Tell us
negative
more.
ignorance and so like one of them is knowing that you don't know, and the other one is you don't even know that you don't know. So what do you do when you don't know that you don't know?
What is denial according to A Course in Miracles?
Ignoring the truth, God.
To
Denying.
deny is a decision not to know.
Right, but at that point we don't know anymore. We don't know that we're
My
not
point
knowing.
is that I do know, but I don't want to accept the knowing. So
I don't know. I think somebody needs to point it out to me to become aware of it. I mean, the course says you got to question everything, but sometimes the conscious choice, the choice might have been made originally consciously, but at the point that I'm in denial, it's not that I don't, I don't know. I really don't. If somebody pointed it out to me, I need to be willing to listen.
that's it. Willing is what denial covers over.
But yeah, okay. I don't know.
I
yeah.
have to be at least open. Again, Sai Guru would say, if I admit that I don't know, then the seeking process can continue. I can take it in, and my desire to know will help me to know.
So I need to kind of do a carte blanche. I don't know anything, and be willing and open.
Precisely. And
okay.
how many of us are willing to be quote unquote demeaned as an individual? That's hard on my ego.
Right. So it's more of a blanket statement than a specific I don't know. Okay. That makes more sense.
You know, what do the rest of you have to say about belief versus knowing? How many wars have we fought over beliefs?
All of them.
Which of those parties knew and which ones didn't know? All of them didn't know.
Right.
They were operating on beliefs.
Right.
Like, if I come and kick your butt, I'm right. Okay.
Yeah, I total agreement. Ego never wants to admit it's wrong, or ignorance that it doesn't know.
Yes.
That's the biggest insult.
It'll take it to my ego would rather die than admit it could be wrong.
Yep.
Okay, that's our speech on that. Thank you. How are we doing, folks?
I think
But
that
you know, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
We're still here.
I was just going to say that I think that before we knew about A Course in Miracles, we definitely didn't know that we didn't know. And now we're better at knowing when we didn't know.
Yes.
We're not 100%, but we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And not to beat up on myself and others, a level 2 statement that would seem to be true is, I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
All right.
But that's great, because then you know
belief.
you know that you don't know what you don't know. That's wonderful. That's a good place to be.
Oh boy, this could get to be a circular.
I didn't even know what the ego was before the Course in Miracles. I didn't know. I was operating from it, and I was clueless.
Yeah, and I was too. However, since there are no coincidences, was it not our willingness that brought the course to us?
Yes.
For me, what brought the course to me is I had 3 individual friends that were studying the course. I didn't know that they were, they never talked about it, but I thought there was something really special about them. And I somehow put together and realized that they were each studying the course. That's what interested me in it.
And here you are.
Right. So, we're drawn somehow, not on my own volition, not on my own willingness. I don't think it was on my own willingness.
I'll do this quote, and then, man, we didn't get very far here. I do want to see if we can touch base on our Course in Miracles Oracle, but let me bring this up for your consideration. Lesson 135, paragraph 18. It says, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events past, present, and to come, have been gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? So you had what, 3 relatives that just
3 separate friends. They didn't know each other.
friends that happened to be studying the course, and somehow that was your entree to it. Was it a coincidence?
No, but
That
it wasn't on my own volition. And
yet
I
it was,
at the time I was still playing victim, and I didn't think everything was for my own good.
you
There's
were
no way I
seeking
thought that.
help?
What?
You were seeking help?
I don't think I was seeking help. I just really liked them, their presence.
I'll just put it this way. We subscribe to the belief that there are no coincidences, that nothing happens at random. And so, for whatever reasons, we were predisposed to be exposed to
Mhm.
the alternatives that this course presented that we were unaware of before. And yet, there's so many brothers and sisters that remain unaware. What is it about us that
Yeah.
brought us to an awareness that isn't on most people's radar even?
I still don't know. What is it? I feel lucky, blessed, grateful,
There
but I
you
really,
go.
I
Right.
don't know what it is. I mean,
Right.
other than it's not me, but what gives somebody that, yeah.
Somewhere along the line, our path was being set for us. And that's why I referred to that passage. What could you not accept if you but knew that this is not at random, but that it's all been working for our good, even when we were unaware of it? Comments?
You mentioned something before, Jim, the desire to know. I think that's something we all have, the desire to know.
And that was the openness that took us out of the conventional mindsets, even when it was below our awareness at the time. A seed was planted and it was growing. And we are so grateful. Maybe that's a, a good place to to finish.
Hmm.
Where we leave off on page 19,
Yep.
Yes.
and did we say the relative truth is constantly changing? Did we get to that part?
No,
No.
All
So,
right. So D, I think, don't we read the first full paragraph on 19, didn't we?
I
yeah,
think, yeah.
So
Yes.
D, will you pick up with the relative truth is constantly changing? Does that make
Sure.
sense? Okay.
The relative truth is constantly changing. Mind, mortal, it is the opposite of the Christ mind. Mortal mind gathers its information through the senses. It judges by appearances, which are often false judgments. Sense consciousness, a mental state formed from believing in and acting through the senses. Judgment based on outer appearances. The senses produce discordant thoughts, jealousies, and a host of limiting beliefs. Man's intellectual standards are determined according to the judgments of the senses.
Comments here? Let's move on. Just a few more minutes here. Kathleen?
I need to leave now. I'll see
Oh,
you.
really? All
Yep,
right.
yep.
Thanks for coming out. Peace out.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Namaste.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Namaste.
hi,
Actually,
Kathleen.
where I ended off is the end of a section. This starts a new one. Duality and the ego.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't.
no, it doesn't. Oh, no, does it?
It's still
Well,
part of
Yeah.
this.
Introduction to a comparison of duality and the ego, right?
Yeah.
So do
I
you
think it'd
want to
be good
wait?
to do
start-
that when we,
Yeah.
when we did the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't we close here and we'll start next time at duality and the ego on page 19.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
All right. You got your course books out?
Yep.
We switch gears here. And we are on, I have page 45 in the text, chapter 3, section Roman numeral 5. And the name of this section is Beyond Perception.
Perfect.
I was
It's just
gonna
what we're
say, what
talking
do you
about.
guys think of this section so far before we start at paragraph 8? But I think, what a coincidence that this discussion matches what we were just talking about, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Totally.
And yet it can't be a coincidence, can it?
Nope.
All right, I'm the first reader then. How's that?
Good.
Paragraph 8. What happens to perceptions if there are no judgments and nothing but perfect equality? Perception becomes impossible. Truth can only be known. All of it is equally true, and knowing any part of it is to know all of it. Only perception involves partial awareness. Knowledge transcends the laws governing perception because partial knowledge is impossible. It is all one and has no separate parts. You who are really one with it need but know yourself, and your knowledge is complete. To know God's miracle is to know him. Every part is a container of the whole. What does that mean, and why? What has that got to do with what we read?
Where are you? Where's that?
In my head.
Oh,
And of all the times Jesus says in the chorus, every part is a container of the whole. Isn't that what it just said here?
Yes.
Knowledge transcends the laws governing perception. It is all one and has no separate part. You who are really one with it need but know yourself, and your knowledge is complete. Have you heard that phrase, know thyself, anywhere?
yes.
Mhm.
And all my problems would be solved. So let's go back to what it was saying at the beginning of paragraph 8. What happens to perceptions if there are no judgments and nothing but perfect equality? What would you experience then?
Your knowledge.
Yeah. Do you see how this is a undoing, is a letting go? If we could let go, it wouldn't be nothing, it would be everything. Can you wrap your head around that? How about, can you at least envision what we're talking about? It's like the statue of David, and who's the sculptor?
Michelangelo.
And Michelangelo say, how did you create this beautiful, beautiful statue? And basically he said, well, it was always there. I just had to get the crap off of it.
Yeah.
Do you see how he didn't make anything new? He just saw its essence from the beginning. So that's why it says the purpose of this course is to help us to remove the blocks to love's presence. If we had no perceptions, no judgments, and perfect equality, if we could get rid of the tiny mad idea that we're individuals and we're able to discern truly, we would have all power and all glory.
Yes.
Who even wants to try and do that? I know my ego thinks it's a lot of damn work. You want to give it a try? Can you forsake judgments?
As long as I have an ego.
The ego is not to be destroyed here. It's simply to be managed. We need it for certain things, but not as a guide to thinking. Y'all got real quiet here. Is this too deep? Let's read some more. We're back to Sherilyn White.
Okay.
Paragraph 9.
Forgiveness is the healing of the perception of separation. Correct perception of your brother is necessary because minds have chosen to see themselves as separate. Spirit knows God completely. That is its miraculous power. The fact that each one has this power completely is a condition entirely alien to the world's thinking. The world believes that if anyone has everything, there is nothing left. But God's miracles are as total as his thoughts, because they are his thoughts.
And Joe, finish this section for us.
As long as perception lasts, prayer has a place. Since perception rests on lack, those who perceive have not totally accepted the atonement and given themselves over to truth. Perception is based on a separated state, so that anyone who perceives at all needs healing. Communion, not prayer, is the natural state of those who know. God and his miracle are inseparable. How beautiful indeed are the thoughts of God who live in his light. Your worth is beyond perception because it is beyond doubt. Do not perceive yourself in different lights. Know yourself in the one light where the miracle that is you is perfectly clear.
Mhm.
I don't know. If thine eye be single, thy body is full of light. If thine eye be absolute, the body will be full of light. Let's talk about this problem of perception before we move on here. So what are we to do with perception? We're getting the feeling it's not quite right
Choose
to
again.
perceive.
In sentence 2 of paragraph 9, it says correct perception of your brother is necessary because minds have chosen to see themselves as separate. So I needed to, I chose it to begin with. I need to choose a different teacher. I need to choose again.
Now, I can't get out of perception all in one fell swoop. So, how does the Holy Spirit, how does the plan of salvation attempt to go at solving this problem of perceiving rather than knowing?
Forgiveness.
What's the plan?
Forgiveness.
And what is it that forgiveness will do? Will it get rid of perception?
It'll transform it into true perception.
Ah, do you all see what's being done? It's a two-step kind of process. Since you can't get out of what you've made, how about I purify it and raise your perception so high that you perceive a brother correctly? It's called, as Dee, you may have mentioned, right perception. Or you'll hear the course call it right-mindedness instead of wrong mindedness. But notice, because there's a right and a wrong, it's definitely in the realm of perception. So the idea is not to crush perception, because you love what you made.
So we can't reach knowledge here then.
What we have to do is first raise our perception to prepare it to meet knowledge, because of the equality of the perception, the right, the purified perception is still perception, but hell, it looks just like the real thing now.
So true perception, it readies it to meet knowledge.
Yes.
And
So
can we ever meet knowledge here in this plane?
I'm sorry.
Can we ever
will we ever meet knowledge here?
In this plane, yes.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But we can reach true perception here.
Okay.
And it'll look just like knowledge. It'll be a dream of knowledge, but it's one that does not conflict with knowledge.
Okay.
Now the kids are ready for a gentle awakening and not an attack on what they made. How are we doing?
Okay. That's, yeah, good.
Is that loving or what?
Sure is. That's what makes it into a gentle awakening, because now we're in true perception.
Yes. I'll take what you made and purify it as the stepping stone to what you've asked. Comments from anybody? Speechless?
What I love about the course is that it's gentle. It brings us to where we need to be in a gentle way.
Yes, sir.
And when we see that, and when the light goes on, it feels good. We're not being threatened. We're not being told it has to be this way. It's a gentle process of seeing things differently.
And is it taken too long? Is it cruel because it's taking too long?
Even if we think it's taking too long, it's not.
Why?
It's taking the time that's needed with the individual.
And it's not right. Do you see how loving that is?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it can't be experienced fully until we heal. There have to be enough of us willing to raise our perceptions to where we reach a critical mass. And you don't have to get everybody there, just enough to where the people will follow the trend. You know how there are leaders and followers. You don't need a zillion leaders, just enough to get the people to follow them. Because we all have to do it to reach the atonement state. And you say, well, that can't be done. It's too many people. And of course, that's what your ego would say, because it's based on limitation. It's based on a logic that's based on limitation. All right. I
Can
had
we
a-
ever, can we ever reach the point where we don't need to be healed piecemeal? You know, like one, you know what I'm saying? Like piecemeal, like this needs to be healed and then this needs to be healed in my mind.
Well, yeah, to me, I think the way the course envisions that is that you do it and your example gets the people in your circle to be prone to do it. And then Ron's doing it in his ministry.
No,
And Joe,
I mean
go ahead.
piecemeal in my own consciousness. Like I've healed this part of my life or this part of my misperception, but there's always other misperceptions right now. This, you know, I'm healing specifics versus my one big general misperception.
Great
Does
question.
it, yeah, does it ever happen where at some point I just accept it all?
What do you think, guys? Anybody want to comment on these questions?
I think it's possible, but I don't know if it's probable.
Well, there is something to be said for the ability to generalize.
Right.
What do I mean, generalize?
Not make it piecemeal, not having it for specifics, having it absolute for
Right.
everything.
So I'm going to give you a solution that works for everything. It's you don't believe it works for everything yet, but keep applying it piecemeal.
Mhm.
And then you'll get a momentum going to where you'll say, oh, I got this. I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So do you see how there's this speed up
Mhm, mhm.
as we learn to generalize and therefore move from having to have one specific accomplishment and then another specific, and we get the ball rolling because of our ability to generalize. Doesn't Jesus talk about that?
Yes, he does.
All right. We
Yeah.
doing okay in response to your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good time. We've been here an hour doing, doing our thing, man. Well, I'm feeling good. Any
Me too.
final?
Glad you made it back, Ron. Back
Yeah,
in.
me
Thank
too.
you. I
Me too.
apologize for slowing things down a little bit,
Oh,
but
no problem. Everything's going according to plan, so I'm very
Yes, it is.
relaxed. Any
I
final
believe that.
comments? Certainly, sir. Final comments? Did you have a
Thank
good
you.
time?
Yep.
Yeah, boy. All right. All right. Well, I'll see you next time. I hope you'll come back and y'all have a real good week. I love you. Okay.
Thank
too.
you. Well,
You
love you
too.
too. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Jim.
Namaste.
Good night.
Namaste.
all.
Have a blessed week, everybody.
Thank you.
you.